So student loan debt, if you are one of the 45 million Americans, you are not alone. We're over $1.7 trillion in student loan debt. So we are starting 2025 off with some new things happening with federal student loans, new administration coming to Washington. I know a lot of you are on the SAVE program. You're in forbearance. You're close to loan forgiveness. You've got a million questions and a million concerns. That's probably why our attendance is so large in these webinars. So we're going to hit on all of that today, answer as much as we can, and obviously also be available to help review your loans after this. We've got Aaron Longino with us. He is our lead student loan advisor, and he is going to walk through everything, student loan that you need to know, answer your questions, and we'll go from there. So Aaron, please take it away.
Hello, everyone. As Beth mentioned, I'm Aaron Longino with Silver Lion Student Loan Advisors. Today, we'll speak about student loans in general, with an emphasis on forgiveness programs, whether it's public service loan forgiveness or your general student loan forgiveness. We'll speak on student loan programs historically, qualified plans we'll touch on. I'll briefly discuss a temporary extended public service loan forgiveness. I'll explain what that means, defaulted loans, and what to expect next. So 98% of people that actually qualify for student loan forgiveness, they'll never receive it. This is just some of the biggest reasons why. The biggest reason, or the most present hurdle, is usually servicer issues. Your servicers are the people in which you make your student loan payments to. Your Mohilas, your Navients, your Nailnets. I was just explaining to a client earlier that the servicers are just the state's attempt to get a piece of the student loan pie, so to speak, if you forgive the analogy. I'm of the opinion, and I have to speak carefully, that the servicers do what's in their best interest as opposed to the borrowers. This part I don't have to speak carefully because they literally said in open court that student loan forgiveness is not in their, meaning the servicers, best interest. They lose money when loans are forgiven. Just by call wait times, how you can speak to 6 different people and get 12 different answers. This is all goes to emphasize that point. Other issues are administrative difficulties. I shouldn't smile, but to be honest, I won't go into that as much. You'll all find out relatively soon what that means as administration changes hands, although that isn't the administrative difficulties that's meant to represent. But these are some of the biggest hurdles, usually, to student loan forgiveness: processing delays, mistakes on applications, mostly because your servicer, whom are paid tens of millions of dollars a month in our tax money, they don't communicate very well and articulate exactly what it is people need to do to enroll into these plans or programs, which is another issue why people don't get forgiveness. They aren't told the correct plans and or programs that they need to be in to qualify for these programs. So while you as the borrower may qualify, your loans may not. A problem that's easily rectifiable if you know what it is that needs to be done, which brings us back to the servicers not properly communicating with borrowers, even though they're paid tens of millions of dollars of our tax money to do so. So when we say student loan forgiveness, what do we mean? Student loan forgiveness is a federal program that says as long as you make X amount of payments, either 120, 240, or 300 qualified payments, at the end of that repayment period, everything that's left will be forgiven. But you must, in order to qualify, you must have federal loans. Those federal loans must be direct loans. You must meet your requisite number of payments, whether it's 120 for public service loan forgiveness, 240 for undergrad, or 300 qualified payments for graduate or postgraduate loans. You must repay them under a qualified plan. And for Public service loan forgiveness, you must work for a qualified employer at least 30 hours a week on average. The servicers will tell you full-time. The Department of Education, however, doesn't mandate full-time, but it must be on average at least 30 hours a week. Again, that's on average. You may work 28 hours a week, 1 week. That won't disqualify you for public service loan forgiveness. Your average will still be 30. So this is an example of a non-qualified plan versus a qualified plan. This is actually a snippet of a client before and after they utilize Silver Lion student loan services. So when we say a standard repayment plan, this is just your default repayment plan that your servicer will send you once your student loans are about to go into repayment. Almost every federal borrower assumes that that bill they get in the mail, this is just their bill, this is what they have to pay. That is not the case. That's just the default plan the servicers enroll you in. In fact, it is not even a qualified plan. So if you take your average borrower, this particular borrower is a family of 5. They have about $50,000 in student loan debt, and they make about $55,000 a year adjusted gross income. They do ask for your adjusted income as opposed to pre-tax dollars. This borrower was paying $530 a month. At the end of their repayment period, the Department of Education would have expected them to have paid $63,638.84 with $0 in student loan forgiveness after a 10-year period, although this borrower would likely have paid these loans for 20 years, which is the average repayment period for most borrowers. This same borrower, all things being equal, after they utilized Silver Lion student loan advisors and was enrolled into a qualified plan for public service loan forgiveness, their monthly payment dropped by more than by more than $400 a month, which over the course of a year is over $5,000, from $530 a month to about $118 a month. Over the course of repayment, this same borrower would only be expected to have paid $14,160 as opposed to over $63,000. And at the end of their repayment period, the Department of Education would estimate that they'd have about $49,478 left of their student loans, of which will be forgiven tax-free for that borrower. This is the difference in a non-qualified plan and a qualified plan for a forgiveness program. This particular borrower will save well over $50,000 over the course of repayment in a reduction in monthly payment and in the forgiveness of their remaining balance at the end of their repayment period.
All right, Aaron, a quick question that has just come in. I work for a nonprofit and I have Parent Plus loans for my daughter. Can I enroll in a qualified plan?
Parent Plus loans on their own don't qualify for forgiveness. You cannot even enroll them into the plans public service loan forgiveness dictate you repay your loans under on their own. They can, however, be made to qualify. If you're someone who has Parent Plus loans or you think you may have Parent Plus loans, have your loans reviewed. We'll be very specific about if your loans qualify for forgiveness and what needs to be done in order to make them qualify. So to answer that question a little more directly, yes, but not yet. They have to be made to qualify for that program. This is an example of the same borrower, but this particular borrower does not qualify for public service loan forgiveness. This example is if they did not. All things being the same on the default or standard plan, this borrower, however, since they do not qualify for public service loan forgiveness, instead of forgiveness coming after 120 qualified payments, which if you make a payment a month is a 10-year repayment, forgiveness will come after 240 qualified payments, which if you make a payment a month is a 20-year repayment. So while their monthly payment is the same, the only thing that changes if you do not qualify for public service loan forgiveness is your repayment period, how long you'll be in repayment. While the previous borrower over the course of repayment would only have been expected to pay a little more than $14,000, this borrower would pay around $28,406 because their repayment period is 10 years longer. If you notice, they're still paying almost $40,000 less than the borrower in a default plan, and the default plan has a shorter repayment period. Although they're paying 10 years less, they're still paying $40,000 more, almost $40,000 more over the course of repayment. After this borrower's 240th qualified payment, the Department of Education estimates they would have about $35,232 left. That's what would be forgiven, again, tax-free. So even if you do not qualify for public service loan forgiveness, forgiveness programs are still by far the better option for repayment of your federal student loans. It isn't even close.
So a few questions are coming in on the SAVE program, but that's what we're hitting next. So I think your questions will be answered momentarily.
So let's take a step back for a moment and explain what the lawsuit about the SAVE plan is about. So this qualified plans or income-driven repayment plans, they're based on what the IRS calls your discretionary income. They're a percentage of your discretionary income, between 10 and 20% of your discretionary income. The SAVE plan, however, it recalculated the formula for discretionary income in and of itself, giving borrowers the opportunity to make less of a monthly payment, but it also lowered the percentage of discretionary income that your monthly payment is based off of, all the way down to 5% of discretionary income. It was literally the difference in borrowers having a $300 a month payment or a $500 a month payment to a borrower having a $0 a month payment, a $10 a month payment, a $20 a month payment, a $100 a month payment, an affordable payment, if you will. So the court said that the Department of Education did not have the authority to unilaterally calculate how monthly payments are made. It needed to be passed by Congress because Congress controls the purse strings. They control how federal tax dollars are spent. Inadvertently or indirectly, this had an effect on other income-driven repayment plans. So the Department of Education is not able to calculate a monthly payment for the SAVE plan. Therefore, all 8 million borrowers that are on a SAVE plan have been placed in forbearance. The hope was that this would be overturned and the Department of Education would be allowed to move forward with the SAVE plan when they went to court in March. But elections, as we know, have consequences. With the changing of administrations, the SAVE plan will no longer be defended in court. So essentially, the SAVE plan is gone. If you're one of the 8 million borrowers on a SAVE plan, what we've been telling our clients, we have clients, thousands of clients who are under 12 payments left until their loans are forgivable. For those clients, we are switching their plan and having them make all 12 payments or however many payments they have left at once. With qualified plans, you're not allowed to make overpayments, but you are allowed to make prepayments up to 12 payments at a time. So if you're 12 payments or less away from having your loans forgiven, we are changing your plan, advising you to make as many payments now as possible, all of them if financially possible. And we're applying for their forgiveness now. So they don't have to deal with any uncertainty or changing of plans. As administrations change, they're going to be over and done with. Now, if you're someone that has more than a year's worth of qualified time, you have more than a year worth of time left in your loans, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, 20 years, then you may want to wait and see which plans are available. It's really a case-by-case study. Some people, or not study, but analysis. Some people are better off switching plans now. Some plans are better than others. If you're in a save plan, you're unsure what to do, have your loans reviewed. We'll take a look at your loan specifically and come up with a game plan that works for you instead of trying to generalize for 8 million borrowers. But the save plan is going away. Between now and March, a decision needs to be made as to what to do moving forward. What's the best plan for you? Is the best plan for you a qualified plan? Will it offer forgiveness at the end of your repayment period? Some people have mentioned and told us that I don't care if I'm in forbearance, I'm still going to make payments. I don't want to get behind on their payments. Well, because they can't calculate a monthly payment for the save plan, even if you make payments while you're in a save plan, those payments will not count until you're enrolled into a different plan. That money, for lack of a better term, will just be in limbo until you're in a plan where they can actually apply those funds. So if you're in a save plan or you think you may be, now is the time to have your loans reviewed so you can come up with a strategy moving forward.
I should have said in the beginning, you're going to see QR codes on a bunch of these slides. Use your camera to scan that code, and that's going to take you to a calendar page to set up your loan review. At the end, we'll give information as well, but we always get questions during, so we threw that up there if you don't want to wait till the end.
So what are your options if you're a borrower who either qualifies for public service loan forgiveness or you want to utilize federal student loan forgiveness? Most people mess up their forgiveness programs or not able to utilize forgiveness programs because they're not in a qualified plan. Regardless of if SAVE is going away, the changing of administrations, forgiveness programs were passed by Congress, signed into law by a president of the United States. They are the law of the land. You still need to fulfill their requirements. You must have direct loans. Some people have Parent Plus loans. That isn't technically a direct loan. Some people have Perkins loans. That isn't a direct loan. For borrowers who went to school prior to 2010, you likely have what are called FEFL loans, FFEL, the Federal Family Education Loan Program. These are not direct loans. Your loans must be converted to direct loans and enrolled into a qualified plan. You must recertify this plan annually. Technically, qualified plans are only for 12 months at a time. They must be recertified annually. One of the biggest blunders the servicers made in recent memory, and they make a lot of blunders, so saying the biggest is saying something. During that 3.5-year payment pause, where student loans were not in repayment due to COVID-19, they actively told borrowers they did not need to recertify. This was not true. People did need to recertify, and a lot of borrowers messed up their qualified time. That period of time was specifically written to qualify for public service loan forgiveness. But if you did not recertify your plan, you're not in a qualified program. When you don't recertify, they take that payment price away from you, give you a standard repayment, which is usually one of the 3 highest repayment plans or plans where you pay the most over the course of repayment. But more importantly for this conversation, it is not, I'll repeat, it is not a qualified plan. It will not forgive your loans at the end of your repayment period. You need to do so. You need to keep a record of your application. One of the servicer's favorite things to say is, we didn't receive it. When, of course, they received it. Keep a record, do things so that they cannot say they didn't receive it. We do things so that it shows up on our website. It shows up in the Department of Education's website. We'll put it there so that they can never say they didn't receive anything because we have a record of it. These are the things in times where forgiveness seems like it's growing in every tree and bush in the land, to times when it seems like there's a lot of uncertainty going away. Keep a record. Make sure you're on a qualified plan. Recertify that plan every year. Always, no matter what your servicer tells you, these things are universal. Defaulted loans. Now is the time where people need to worry about default. There was an on-ramp period after that 3.5 year payment pause where they weren't not reporting to the credit agencies, missed partial late payments, and your loans there was no concern about your loans going into default. Default is when you default on the repayment plan you agreed to repay your student loans. You have to have not made a payment for 270 consecutive days. Once your loans go into default, not only are they reporting that delinquency and that default to the credit agencies, but you also lose your federal privileges, meaning you're no longer able to get federal student loans. Meaning if you're someone who gets an income tax return, they'll offset. I use air quotes because they're not offsetting it. They're taking the whole thing of your income tax return, even if your loans are default, but you file jointly with your spouse who loans may be in good standing. They'll take your joint income tax return. Normally, they'll only apply between $5 and $50 to the interest of your loans. The rest they keep as a collection fee. That isn't the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is what happens next. You'll fall into garnishment, where they'll garnish 15% of every taxable income you receive, whether it's employment income, unemployment, some investment income, some VA benefits. If it's taxed, they'll take 15% out of it before you see a penny of it for the foreseeable future. Garnishments are actual judgments in a court of law against you. Most lawyers will charge you between $3,000 and $5,000 to have your garnishment reversed. We're not nearly as expensive as a lawyer is, and that's in Ohio. I can only imagine what they charge in some of the larger markets. But it's always better to catch it before you go into garnishment. It's extremely difficult and extremely expensive to get out of garnishment. We're able to do it. We're able to do it a lot faster than a lawyer through the courts will. But it's still a painstaking endeavor to do. So in this time of uncertainty, where the lawsuit against the SAVE plan may indirectly have affected two of the other three income-driven repayment plans, what are some of the actions you need to take? I would say the first thing you need to do is have your loans reviewed. I don't want to generalize or just give a blanket solution to a very specific problem with each individual borrower's loans, but it may be something as simple as a program change. The SAVE plan is no longer available. Maybe we can find a plan that's a qualified plan that fits your budget and will accomplish the same goals. If you're someone who works for a qualified employer, your average borrower would say, oh yeah, I'm in public service loan forgiveness. I work for a nonprofit, or I work for a hospital, or I work for a school. You, as the borrower, may qualify for public service loan forgiveness. Your loans, however, may not. Also, you must be enrolled into public service loan forgiveness. Nothing happens automatically with the federal government. I'm even surprised these people can tie their shoes sometimes. Don't expect them to automatically enroll you into a program. You need to make sure your loans are in good standings. If your servicer tells you something, you need to verify that. The servicers are known for not only giving wrong answers, but giving 13 different answers to the same question. We get asked a lot about the buyback program. It's a new program where you can buy back qualified time that is not available to the SAVE program. There are other options for people in the SAVE program. You cannot buy back time under SAVE because they cannot calculate that monthly payment. There's nothing to buy back. Once you've reached your requisite number of qualified payments, again, they will not forgive your loans automatically. That forgiveness must be applied for. If you're someone who think you may qualify for a discharge, which is different than forgiveness, a discharge. Maybe you feel like you were misled with the school you enrolled to. The school is no longer accredited. The school closed down while you were there or shortly thereafter. You were not able to obtain employment based on your degree from this institution, or maybe you've been diagnosed as being totally or 100% disabled. These are discharges. Except for the disability discharge, there's a possibility the other discharge programs may go away. If you're someone that qualifies for them, now is the time to apply while they're still available to you. Don't let uncertain times lead you astray. As Americans, we have a habit of saying, I don't know what's going on. I'm not going to worry about this. No, this is the road to repaying student loans for 30 years as opposed to 10 or 20 or whatever program it is you qualify for. These programs, the ones we've discussed throughout these webinars, were both passed by Congress and signed into law by the President of the United States, a president of the United States. They cannot unilaterally be done away with. You still need to make sure, A, you're in a qualified plan, B, you're in a forgiveness program. That plan has been recertified annually. Both your plan and public service loan forgiveness have to be recertified annually. Now is the time to be enrolled into these plans and programs. If you think there will be uncertainty in the near future, lock in now. These programs are clear and they're not expected to go anywhere. More often than not, I just spoke to a client before this webinar that said, I'm just going to use a forbearance until I know what's going on, which is the opposite of what you want to do if you're able to make qualified plans. This was a simple, they had 6 payments left. This was a simple resolution. We can put you in another plan that's available, a qualified plan, make those 6 payments now. I'll apply for your forgiveness today. Don't let this opportunity pass you by, and in another 6 years, when your loans could have been forgiven, you're still in the same place you are now. Now is the time. So most everyone that applies for public service loan forgiveness is denied. 98% of people that actually qualify for it, they never get it, usually because they haven't been in the correct plan to take advantage of the program. Public service loan forgiveness will deny you. For some, however, there's an opportunity under what's called a temporary extended public service loan forgiveness application. Essentially, this is us speaking to the Department of Education and saying, look, John Smith did everything he thought he was supposed to. He made his monthly payments on time, full payments. He works for a qualified employer. His servicer has failed him by not making sure he's in the correct plan. He's been paying more than a qualified plan dictated he should have. We're asking for this time to be converted from non-qualified to qualified time. A temporary extended public service loan forgiveness has the authority to count non-qualified payments, some, not all, some, as qualified time. If you've been denied for public service loan forgiveness, or you're not quite sure if you've been making payments under a qualified plan, have your loans reviewed. We'll see if a TEPSLF is the right way forward for you. So what is it that we do? How are we able to help? The first thing we'd want to do, I'm sure you've heard me say it over and over, is to have your loans reviewed. Without reviewing your loans specifically, we're just speculating. We're just essentially telling you how these plans and programs work. Have your loans reviewed. We'll be very specific about your situation. We want to see how many loans you have, how much they are, who holds them, and the status that they're in. That'll give us a clearer picture as to suggest what to do moving forward. Once we reviewed your loans, we'll tell you how much you could be paying versus what you're paying now. We'll tell you what plans and programs you qualify for, what needs to be done to enroll into them, and exactly when the Department of Education expects your loans to be forgiven and how much they expect to forgive. At that point, only after we've already reviewed your loans, You're free to either take the information we've already given you and do these things yourself, or you can hire us to do them for you. If you hire us to do them for you, we will take care of all things federally student loan related. Only thing we won't do is sign for you. There's some things you may need to sign or your employer need to sign, but we'll submit them. We'll do all things federally student loan related. From that point forward, if you receive the continued service until your loans are forgiven, we'll be your student loan advisors. If not, we've already given you the information as to exactly what needs to be done with your loans, and you're free to take that information and do those things yourself.
So we've got some great questions that come from borrowers, and I'm sure some of these questions are ones that you all have. So we're just going to run through them. And Aaron, I'm going to let everybody kind of read them, and then you can give your impression or your answers.
Okay, so I'll read them aloud for you all as well. I know I don't have my glasses on right now.
I'll read them, Aaron. I'll read them. I'm sorry. I've attempted to make 2 payments in January. I'm sorry, in December and January. Both were reversed. And I also received an email notifying me that my auto pay was canceled. I tried to call customer service twice, but the wait time is between 80 and 132 minutes. I've been with Mohila for most of my loans and have always made payments without problems. I don't know what's going on, but this is seriously disrupting my budget. Help.
So this has been happening a lot for about the past 6 months. About 6 months ago, every federal borrower likely received the email letting them know the servicer's platform has changed. No one paid any attention to this email. Almost virtually no one paid attention to this email. Most people didn't even know what that meant. I didn't know what they were saying. Their platform has changed. Your servicer website has changed. The system they use to receive payments have changed. If you've been sending in payments to the old system or on their old platform, those payments will be reversed. Your auto pay was canceled because that system no longer has the authority to run it. You need to create an account for this particular person at mohila.studentaid.gov. Whoever your servicer is very likely their website changed to Mohila, Nailnet, whoever they are, .studentaid.gov. Your old login criteria will no longer work. You don't have an account on the new platform. You need to create an account. As far as the wait time, there's always going to be a wait time with the servicers. I'm of the opinion, and I have enough evidence that it really isn't an opinion, but I have to speak carefully. Your servicers do this on purpose so that you can hang up. They even request from the Department of Education more of a window of allowable dropped calls from wait times because they don't want to speak to you. Even when you do speak to someone, and anyone has ever called their servicer can attest to, to be honest, I'm hard on the servicers because they're like dealing with children, very irritating and never really helpful. But the person that answers the phone, if I'm being honest, they're just a person working a 9 to 5, looking at a computer screen. They don't know anything about how student loans work. The people that do, you'll never be able to speak with, or you'll be on the phone holding for 6 to 8 hours trying to reach them. Nothing can be done about the wait times because I'm of the opinion it's intentional. But this particular question, you need to create an account with your service's new platform.
Aaron, you paint such a rosy picture for all of us. And I'll add to that if you are participating in the Thrive program and we're sending those payments, you want to make sure that your account number lines up with the new platform. And I think we've gotten through, and majority of you are, but that for anyone who's new on the Thrive platform, that's something you want to make sure. Okay, my payments are going up. Hi, I'm with Mohila. I initially planned to pursue PSLF, but left teaching, and now I'm focusing on paying off my student loans. At the start of 2024, I enrolled in SAVE and with a balance of around $37,000. Currently, I have $28,500 and I'm in forbearance. My payments in SAVE were $140 a month, but now they're roughly $380 a month. I'm so confused. if my loan balance is decreasing, why are my payments increasing?
Because you're no longer on a save plan. It sounds as if, and without reviewing your loans, I'm speculating, um, but it sounds as if you went back to a default repayment plan, a standard repayment plan. So where Save had you paying X amount of dollars, or actually this really looks like another plan. You're no longer in the same plan. Your plans have switched. So the Save plan gave unusually low payments to borrowers. This particular borrower is no longer in the Save plan. Obviously, they're no longer in that forbearance. They've switched their plan. Either they've done it or the servicer done it without them really being aware of what was going on. You need to see which plan you're in. Make sure it's a qualified plan. Although you may not qualify for public service loan forgiveness anymore, you still may qualify for student loan forgiveness, and make sure your plan is calculated correctly. But you've definitely changed plans. You need to see which plan that is.
So Aaron, a lot of questions are coming in with the same theme. So if you were in the SAVE plan, our understanding was that you were put in forbearance. Are you seeing that people are now being taken out of forbearance and either put into another qualified plan or back to a standard plan? Or what are we seeing at the advisor level?
What happens the most is someone will call their servicer, and a servicer will tell them, well, instead of paying $0 a month under Save, maybe you could pay $30 a month so that the interest doesn't build. And when a person says, okay, that sounds like a good idea, I don't want to be overwhelmed with interest, the servicer switches their plan. But the borrower doesn't usually know they're agreeing to have their plan switched. They're just trying to keep their interest at bay. So the servicers are reverting their plans back to other plans, usually, not always, usually non-qualified plans that are not going to count towards the forgiveness of their loans. So you want to be careful what you agree to with your servicer. They are supposed to, in theory, be there to help you. But you want to be careful as to what you're agreeing with, because you don't know what you think you're agreeing to isn't always what you're actually agreeing to.
So a question came in, what does awaiting form administrative forbearance mean?
An administrative forbearance is essentially a processing forbearance. You may be somebody that applied for the SAVE plan. They're unable to enroll you into it. So for the first 60 days, they're going to give you an administrative forbearance. Interest won't accrue for those 60 days when you're in administrative forbearance because the weight is on their end. They're processing something on your behalf. If it's the SAVE plan, after 60 days, you'll go into a regular forbearance, interest will start accruing, and they'll dump the interest into your principal usually. So you want to be careful about administrative forbearance. They can be a little deceptive only in that they end in 60 days and you don't get a notice, and you'll be in a regular forbearance. But it's likely that you applied for something and they're waiting to enroll you into it. If it's the SAVE plan, you'll never be enrolled into it. You may want to look at different options.
So what would you recommend to somebody who has applied for SAVE? Obviously, they're not going to get enrolled in SAVE. What's their best step forward?
Have your loans reviewed sooner rather than later. We need to see, which programs not only do you qualify for, but that'll work best for you. Then we need to make sure there's a plan that fits into your budget so that you can make qualified payments. Have your loans reviewed sooner rather than later, and we'll come up with a strategy specific to you.
Okay, so there's two payment count questions. One was, I have enough IDR counts for forgiveness, but I'm stuck in limbo because of the litigation. What do I do? And I think I have 270 out of 300 payments for my graduate loans, but my payoff date says it's not until 2035. What is going on?
I'll take the second question first. It'll always say something crazy like 2035. They don't know how much time you already have in. If you're only 30 payments away, you need to be making qualified payments. I don't have to explain how hard it was to get 270 qualified payments. You don't have time to wait around. and see what Congress is going to do or what the next administration is going to do, what they're not going to do. You need to be on that road. You're under 3 years left. It's hard enough to get qualified time. Have your loans reviewed. Let's come up with a strategy to get you back on the road to forgiveness. As far as the first question, if you have 120 qualified payments, qualified, you need to switch your plan and apply for forgiveness. They cannot forgive loans under the SAVE plan. That's preventing you from having your loans forgiven. Have your loans reviewed. We'll be more specific, but essentially you need a program change and you need to apply for forgiveness right now, today.
I'm 24 payments away from loan forgiveness. Those payments are during the COVID years. But aren't the COVID months supposed to automatically count towards public service loan forgiveness?
So in March of 2020, Congress passed the CARES Act. Part of the CARES Act, due to COVID-19, put student loans in forbearance, which ended up lasting for 3.5 years. The CARES Act specifically said those who qualify for public service loan forgiveness, the time spent in this forbearance would count as though they made full and on-time payments. Those who qualify for public service loan forgiveness. If you were unemployed during that period of time, you did not qualify for public service loan forgiveness on your own. Therefore, your loans cannot be counted during that period for public service loan forgiveness because you yourself did not qualify. If you qualify for public service loan forgiveness, then yes, that 3.5 year time where loans were not in repayment, that will count towards public service loan forgiveness. We'll make sure it counts for you. But if you yourself did not qualify for the program at that period of time, then no, that time will not be converted for public service loan forgiveness. It can still be for student loan forgiveness.
Okay, last question we'll take is on recertification. There's a lot of questions here. I don't think we have to read through the whole thing, but can you, Aaron, just give us, just because we're short on time, just an overview of what everybody needs to know about recertification right now and going forward?
So you need to recertify your plan. Some people that are on a SAVE plan likely got a letter with a ridiculously long recertification date. You're not making qualified payments. Interest will accrue. Your loans will collect a significant amount of interest before now and then. Your plan needs to be recertified. If part of that question was if they file married filing separately, should they just say they're married? No. Tell them you don't know how much your spouse makes if you don't know how much your spouse makes. I'm a big believer if you give the government the information they need and nothing more. If you file separately for public service loan forgiveness, that isn't any of their business about your spouse's income. You've already given them yours. Other than that, your plan must be recertified or you're not in a forgiveness program.
All right. Thank you very much. I know we try to cram so much in. I know we didn't get to all the questions, but we are here. If we didn't get your question or you want to have a loan review, the loan reviews are at no cost. So it's such a great opportunity right now with all the uncertainty to talk to Aaron and his team and make sure that you're on the right track. So QR code, that's our phone number. You can email a question. We have a Calendly link up here. So please, if we can help, if you have questions, if we can help at all, reach out. We are here and we thank you all for participating today. And thank you, Aaron. That was amazing. Take care, everybody.